How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mama.
Ted just had a huge date. How'd it go, dude?
I want to be married by the time I'm 30. And yet I keep falling in love with the wrong people, being really bad at dating. We wrote all that in the story.
You could have ended the show quite a few different ways.
There's an alternate ending to the show. I felt very connected to Ted and Tracy, and I sort of loved the idea of them living happily ever after.
So obviously the show just picked up so much success, and instantly you're kind of thrust into the spotlight as the guy who created How I Met Your Mother. And yet you wrote The Mutual Friend.
Dating has changed. The whole game has changed, and now everything is on the phones. And that got me thinking a lot about technology, got me thinking a lot about like our relationship to technology. And that was sort of the inception of The Mutual Friend.
Sorry,
that's a good intro, because I was going to ask you one of the themes I wanted to get into is partially social media, technology, partially finding purpose, dating, etc. But building from that, before we get into that, how would you give an elevator pitch of The Mutual Friend to somebody who hasn't read it or somebody who's interested in reading it?
I've never been able to do that, and it's really it's. I think it's the thing that's probably. I mean, a number of things have maybe held it back from being a number one New York Times bestseller. But like, it's interesting because it got sold in America as a romantic comedy and a romance. And like he was listing the romance novel at first, and I had to like fight against that because it's like there's some romantic elements in it, but it's like I felt like it was about much more than that. My elevator pitch is it's more thematic. It's more like it's an exploration of our relationship to technology, and in a way that is intentionally not like I didn't want to do the thing like, and my elevator pitch is saying what it isn't. But what it isn't is this scoldy, hey, put down your phones. Come on, guys, put your phones down. Pay attention to real life. I didn't want to do that because you can't do that. That's like real. It was sort of acknowledging that real life is now taking place inside our phones. Like this is where we. Oh, sorry, I just showed you my kids. Those are my kids, right there. But like inside our phones is where these things are happening, and is where like our lives are taking place. We're dating there. We're buying our socks there. We're like I found out I was going to be a father for the first time when my wife sent me an email. The subject was, "Are you sitting down?" And it was just a picture of a pregnancy test. And like that's how that moment happened in my life. And like I don't know, I just sort of wanted to like acknowledge like do a story of people grappling. It's okay. It's the story of multiple characters. This is the elevator pitch. Multiple characters grappling with the fact that we as a species are interacting with each other in a way that we are not evolved to do so. And that in 10,000 years, 20,000 years of human civilization, we nothing has prepared us for this, and yet somehow we have to live in it and make sense of it. That's the elevator pitch. It reminds
me of that's a great way to sum it up.
I think we're at my floor, so I'll see you guys.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But, it reminds me of a specific scene, I think, which sums it up really well in the book, a particular chapter where Bill, the brother of the main character, is on an expedition in the forest or something like this. And then he realizes he's not. He's actually listening to a podcast whilst he's cycling through Venice. And then all of a sudden he realizes he's not. He's looking at a screen, cycling through Venice on the TV whilst listening to a podcast in his home. And I don't know if you might agree with this idea that the phone has become more real than the external reality itself. And those interactions are prized more above the real ones.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you singled that out because I love that, and I do feel like that scene sort of. I feel like that is kind of setting up a concept that I really wanted to explore and find every facet of, which is this idea that we are, that we live in multiple realities at once nowadays. It was something that I was starting to like, sort of like. The idea of that was growing in my head. This idea of like, there's the reality of our phones, and then there's the reality of reality. And then that summer, the summer after How I Met Your Mother, I was sort of like spinning my wheels, looking for something to do. I just moved to New York, and my my kids were going to go to this school that was like right across the street from Columbia. And so we like lived in the Columbia area, Columbia University. And on a whim one day, I was like, I need something to do this summer. We're not going away. My wife, I can't remember. I think we found out she was having a baby pretty soon. And so we weren't going to go anywhere. We're just going to like have a summer in New York. And just on a whim, I was like, I wonder if like Columbia University has like classes for normal people who just wander in off the street. I wonder if that exists. And sure enough, they had a thing that was like the School of Continuing Education, where you could sign up to take a class at Columbia, taught by an actual Columbia professor in a Columbia lecture hall, without having to apply to Columbia. And I saw that there was one that was Intro to East Asian Buddhism. My wife's family is from Thailand, and and they're Chinese originally, and her mother's Buddhist, and my children were like sort of had like Buddhist ceremonies when they were born, but I don't know anything about Buddhism. So I thought like, oh, this could be interesting. I'm going to take this class, and I took the class, and it like blew my mind. It was like the best experience of my life. It's and this ended up in the book because this is what Bill goes through. He just on a whim decides to take a class on Buddhism, and
I guess you didn't follow through like Bill did.
No. Bill is kind of me minus me with the brakes cut, basically. Like I was able to hit the brakes and be like, all right, this is fun, but I am like a dad and I do have like responsibilities. But Bill just goes for it. But in the class, like the sort of one of the precepts of Buddhism that I didn't know about was this idea of sort of the duality of the two realities that we live in. I'm forgetting the terminology now. There's the like sort of the real world and the spiritual world, or the
material and non-material, or something like that.
The material and non-material, sort of the eternal and the temporal, and the way the professor described those worlds reminded me a lot of the way I think I often think about the real world and the world inside our phones, and that sort of like felt like, oh, I'm it's the kind of thing where like you think about blue cars and suddenly you see blue cars everywhere, and it's sort of like as soon as I started thinking in that paradigm, ideas started forming and worlds started coming together, and that it led to sort of like observations like that where you can be like climbing cycling through Venice, and also like at a crime scene in the woods, and also in your basement.
Ever shown up to the beach with a big bush, getting rejected left, right and centre, so you have to walk away with your pubes between your legs? Then get yourself a Manscaped and rule the beach. Wear your shorts with no shame. Get the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra now with a discount code LOAF to get a full 20% off, so that your baguette leaves no crumbs.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that short clip of our episode with Carter Bays. If you want to see the full episode, click right here where we got loads more nuggets of gold. Please like and subscribe to check out our other videos. We've got a huge range of guests, from actors to politicians to academics to sports people. So please do check it out. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.